and welcome back to Classic Times. Today I'll be going through stage 36 of the Cambridge Latin course, and we'll be recapping the imperfect and pluperfect subjunctive, as well as having a look at the new present subjunctive. Okay, let's begin. And first of all, let's have a quick recap of the imperfect subjunctive. So the imperfect subjunctive is formed with a present tense infinitive plus the imperfect subjunctive endings, and an imperfect subjunctive is translated with was or were. And you can see on this slide a table of those endings. So now that we've gone back over the imperfect subjunctive, let's go back over the pluperfect. So a pluperfect subjunctive is formed with a perfect stem plus the pluperfect subjunctive endings, and they're translated with the word had. And again, you can see a table of those endings. And just to reiterate, the endings are mst, mus, tis, unt. So that was a very quick recap of the imperfect and pluperfect subjunctives. But if you'd like a more detailed video covering those two topics, then tap the pop-out banner in the top right of your screen for my video on stage 24. So now, let's move on and have a look at the present subjunctive. So a present subjunctive is formed with a present tense stem minus the O at the end plus the present subjunctive endings, which you can see in the tables on this slide. But again, like before, the endings are mst, mus, tis, unt. And finally, Latin uses present subjunctives in different constructions when referring to the present time frame. So that could be a purpose clause, an indirect question, an indirect command, or a result clause. And now, let's move on and have a look at some new vocab. Animadvertere, to notice. Armour, arms or weapons. Causa, reason or cause. Discipulus, a pupil or student. Donare, to give. Extremus, furthest. Finis means end. Ignis is a fire. Mirari, to admire. Ne means that not. Niger means black. Praesertim, especially. Praeter, except. Recitare, to read out. Tangere, to touch. Vetus means old. So now, let's have a look at a few examples of the present subjunctive. Cives convenient ut poetam audiant. Literally, this means the citizens are gathering in order that they may hear the poet. But this sounds clunky in English, so more naturally we would be inclined to say the citizens are gathering to hear the poet. And secondly, Martialis dicere non potest quare sabidium non amet. This means Martial is unable to say why he does not like Sabidius. So hopefully by this point you feel confident enough to have a go at a few sentences on your own. So pause the video and have a go at those. So now let's go through the answers. cognoscere volo quid illi fabri aedificient. I want to know what those craftsmen have built. Tam saevus est dominus noster ut servos semper puniat. Our master is so cruel that the slaves are always punished. Tanta est multitudo ut omnes vias urbis compleat. The crowd is so great that it is filling all of the streets of the city. So if you manage to achieve 3 out of 3, then well done. That is a perfect score. Consider yourself a master of the subjunctive. If you manage to achieve 2 marks out of 3, then that is still a highly admirable performance. And if you only manage to achieve 1 out of 3, don't worry. This was a new and challenging topic. Keep going. And now, just before we finish, I'd like you to have a go at a quick, fun vocab quiz. So match up the Latin words with the correct English translation. And to get you fully in the spirit, I'm only going to give you 30 seconds. And the timer starts now. Okay, stop. That's time up. And now, let's go through the answers. So I'll leave the answers up on the screen for you to mark, and then add up your score out of 12. So if you manage to achieve 10 or more, I'm really impressed. In that time limit, that shows that you've consolidated the words really well. If you manage to achieve between about 6 and 9, that's still a good score, but maybe a little bit more practice is needed. And if you only manage to achieve 5 or less, then you should definitely go back over the words from the CLC. But don't worry, this was a shock test, so with a bit of revision, you should be fine. So we've now covered stage 36 of the CLC, so let's summarise. The imperfect subjunctive. This is formed with a present tense infinitive plus the endings. And it's translated with was or were. The pluperfect subjunctive. This is formed with a perfect stem plus the pluperfect subjunctive endings. And just remember, I've only covered the imperfect and pluperfect subjunctive briefly in this video because I go over them in much more detail in stage 24. So again, you can tap the top right if you want to go over to that video. And finally, the present subjunctive, which we've met today. This is formed with a present tense stem minus the O plus the present subjunctive endings. And you should always strive for a natural sounding translation in English. So thanks for watching, and join me in my next video where I'll be covering stage 37 of the Cambridge Latin course.